is teaching, learning, and discovery, as well as service. You got an email from me this morning. I want to parse a couple of things. One, in all weeks, if you're not vaccinated and you intend to come to campus on Mondays, you really do need to schedule an appointment and get in by the preceding Thursday. Because it doesn't look like with the vendor that we have across the system that they will be able to guarantee processing Friday tests in time for Monday. What that means for those of you who are planning to come to campus on Monday who need a test is that you likely will not be cleared unless you've gotten the test or can get the test shortly from another Cuny location. So just a heads up on that. At the same time, you saw a reference to a soft rollout, and really what that is since we're onboarding a new testing site with a new vendor and trying to get two fairly complex technological systems to effectively communicate to each other test results. I'm a little bit concerned, we're a little bit concerned about what that looks like for pinch points on campus, particularly in that first week of instruction. So I know that we said to be gentle in coming back next week, and really what we mean is in those areas, please work with your supervisor, managers, department heads, deans, and vice presidents to identify and make sure of the business need to be on campus. But as we move forward, things will regularize. But as you all can appreciate, we're onboarding something very new, and in any given year, the first week or two of any semester at the beginning of a school year is a little bit chaotic, and we're a little bit concerned about how that will create pressure and pinch points accessing campus. Rene, do you want to clarify or extend any of those comments?
No, not about that. I wanted to go over a little bit with everyone about, number one, it's very important for you to upload your vaccination records to Cuny First. If you are not sharing your records, it's up to you, it's completely voluntary. Or if you are not vaccinated, you must also go to that vaccination site in Cuny First and mark the appropriate information. Otherwise, you will not receive what you need to receive in order to get a notice to schedule an appointment for testing. The testing site is being set up today. They got tied up on the Cross Bronx, no surprise to any of us, right? And they decided to go to Bronx Community first. They were supposed to come to us first. So later today, they will be setting up at the Lehman campus. I think it's going to be a slow go tomorrow, although you may want to try to get schedule a test for tomorrow or Monday once they're actually up and running. I also wanted to talk a little bit about how, if you're coming to campus and you've uploaded your records, how you will get on campus. So we have, IT has linked Cuny First with our access control system, and Cuny First is also linked with the Everbridge app. I want to just show you the changes. So you'll now see there's a VaxPass request in the Everbridge app in the location where the system checker used to be. When you press on that, you'll get a notice to submit. When you submit, it'll tell you you've successfully submitted, and it will both email you or give you a green token. So you can use either your VaxPass green token for entry to campus, your ID or your digital ID for access to campus. All of it will note if you're allowed on campus. The problem happens when you have a red, when you swipe, a red mark when you swipe, a red light when you swipe your ID. Then you will need to show proof of your negative test. What else? Oh, I just, I think that's it, about access. I'm going to turn it back to you, President Delgado.
Well, Rene, for my own edification, why don't you remind me where the testing site is going to be located?
Sure. The testing site is currently located in room 1405, which is on the first floor, the seminar room of the science facility. We're in the process of securing a testing trailer, which are very similar to the ones that are located around the city. It's expected to be delivered next week and is set up. So I'm expecting within 2.5 weeks time, we will have that trailer set up and used. People will access for testing. The trailer will be set up in the Science Hall parking lot. So whether the temporary location in Science Hall or the permanent location in the trailer in the parking lot, people will access via gate 6. There will be an officer there. You will have to show that you're scheduled with an appointment to come in. You will be let in. You will be able to go to either the room in science on the first floor or the trailer. And once you are tested, you would then leave campus via gate 6 as well. And they are expecting to be up and running tomorrow. So if you do need to have a test and are planning to come to campus next week, you should, number one, make sure all of you've uploaded your documents or checked the correct box in Cuny first, and then you'll get the app to be able to schedule an appointment.
Good. And you said the room was 1405, correct?
Correct, 1405, which is the seminar room on the first floor of the science facility. And there will be an officer posted there for the duration that will assist.
And you do need a Vax Pass. You get the Vax Pass once, right? And that's and you show that.
The Vax Pass is to enter campus if you're planning to be on campus for the day. You have to show your scheduled appointment to enter gate 6 to go to get tested. And the testing is taking place in 1405 in Science Hall. That is the seminar room in Science Hall.
And Rene, before I jump over to the chancellor's email, I know there's questions on here. And it's the perennial question that we grapple with, and that is, what are we doing for non-tax levy employees and/or visitors and suppliers who are coming to campus?
All right, so yesterday I received information from central office about a system they're putting in place. It's tied to not our system, not our Cuny First system, but it's tied to the testing company's system. So I have set up with 4 people who are authorized as administrators to enter the information for visitors and vendors. It's myself, Diane Clark, Fausto Ramirez, and Andrea Pinnock. And I will send out a general information once the system is live to the community to let you know the procedure. But we will be required to collect first and last name for the person and their email address. They will then receive information on how to submit either their vaccination records for access. And again, they'll be working with the same passes, or schedule a test to be able to come on campus. And I will follow up once the system is in place and fully operational. I will send out a notice to the campus on how to proceed.
Thank you, Rene. And just so everybody knows, that there will be a sequencing of informational emails coming out to campus constituencies. So mine to the campus came out this morning. I believe, Rene, you have one teed up. Student Affairs has one that is being prepared. And then there will be additional messages coming from the provost and other vice presidents on Monday. And then our cabinet, we will take stock of where we're at. I guess on Tuesday we meet again, and we will pivot and decide what additional messages need to be sent out before Friday of next week. I want to take a minute here, and I understand there's questions stacking up, and we'll try to answer them. So the Council of Presidents from City University received a draft email this morning around lunchtime from the Chancellor. And he is responding to the ever-shifting environment we all work in terms of the ecosystem of the 5 boroughs. And so this email should come out yet today to all of the Cuny community. But specifically, what it addresses is a new temporary mask mandate across the system. And so beginning on Monday, August 16th, the system is mandating for each campus and entity that 1, employees, staff, visitors, students Wear a face mask inside all university campus and office buildings. That is irrespective of your vaccination status. And 2, that we must wear a mask outdoors on our campuses when we are unable to maintain 6 feet of physical distance from others. For example, while we're attending a gathering or a public event or a sporting event that's outside. Importantly, the only exception to wearing a mask inside is if a fully vaccinated person is inside a private dorm room, an office, another enclosed space, or in a work space or desk, and is separated by at least 6 feet from any other occupied workspace or desk. What this message does not specify is that as we wear a mask inside all our university campus and office buildings, that we must maintain 6 feet. The mandate does not say that indoors. It does say under certain conditions outdoors, we must maintain 6 feet of physical distancing. So the specific language will come out under the Chancellor's byline. Hopefully it'll be sent out yet before 4:30 today. I think that was the original plan this morning, and each of our campuses will, if we need to, each of our campuses will have to update our communications and our institutional plans that are on our COVID websites to mirror this language until further notice. Now, having said all of that, I do want to reiterate, there are still ongoing discussions. There is still a lot of work being done to continue to be ready for the fall semester. These include your normal, let's get ready for supplies. Let's make sure the campus is in good physical condition. Let's make sure that we continue to address any lingering issues that we need to regarding buildings and building safety. And of course, Rene and her team continue to work on making sure that we can safely and appropriately provide dining options on campus. So it would be silly for me to say, almost redundant for me to say, it's a very complex situation during COVID. I think that's obvious. I think what's more to the point is that much like other times in the last 18 months, some of the situations that we're dealing with are quite fluid, and if not directly in our control, we nevertheless have a responsibility to respond to any mandates or directives or shifts in public policy that we need to in order to be open for the fall semester. Rene, do you have other things that you want to highlight today?
Yes. So obviously it's going to be a little hairy next week coming on campus. So I ask that you please bear with us. We're all getting used to these new systems. We're hoping things work perfectly, but we know how new systems can go, and there are glitches and there are bugs. There may be some problems. So we ask for your patience and kindness, and it's not the officers' fault. They're doing their job. It's just, everything is just being done so close to when we actually need to implement it that we just don't have the time to really work out all of the bugs. I need to remind you to please go to Cuny first and update either your vaccination status or upload your records. And that's the best way for you to link you to all of our access control systems and to the Everbridge app. And we have also decided that we're going to have a bit of a grace period because we know there's going to be glitches in the system. So we're going to be a little bit flexible. We're still working out the details of what that means. And it will be included in the correspondence I send out to you later today. So, and I just ask you to please take a look at your emails even over the next few days as we, continue to work out some of the details and get them to you.
And as I said earlier, some of what will come out are emails from Rene and from Student Affairs. So students will be getting information and instructions or pointed to where the instructions are at within the next few hours. At this point, we are not making a policy shift in terms of changing the modalities of classes. This has been an ongoing conversation with the provost and with the deans, and we assume the deans with department heads and departments. I know that we have added courses that are fully online since July to meet student needs, but at this point we are not making a policy shift to change. We do know that there are a number of faculty that are teaching in the high flex model, and that can accommodate students both at a distance and on campus. And at the same time, we're asking our faculty who are teaching to campus to come to campus safely. We're also asking faculty to be thoughtful about how they engage students outside of the classroom. It is a tendency for those of us who like to teach and like to continue the teaching outside of the classroom to linger or to walk down the hallway slowly and have conversations. Obviously, those things create bottlenecks. We also have, I'm sure, have a number of faculty who like to continue the conversation in their office, and students like to come by the offices. I might suggest, given the weather permitting, you consider taking those meetings outside, because you can have distancing. To the question that Deidre asked, no, we don't have separate spaces that we can allocate, because obviously we're trying to spread people out already on the campus and reduce physical bottlenecks in certain parts of the campus. And so even if you're on campus, we might suggest that you consider to do your meetings with students via Zoom or some mediated resource to reduce the foot traffic in buildings and in office spaces. The one question I can't answer here that Rene, maybe we need to consider and get back to, is there's a question from Dante Alberti. What are our thoughts or I'm going to infer directives on performers wearing masks during rehearsals and performances? Certainly changes the way a chorus performs. I would be fascinated to see if anybody has mastered how to play the trumpet with a mask.
Make a little hole in the mask.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the ticket. I'm sure trumpeters will embrace that. Certainly, we would want them to maintain as much distancing as possible.
They have to maintain distancing, and maybe we try to do some of it outside, Dante.
Yeah.
And then maintain the distancing as well. And
to Donnery, this question of essential workers, really we started with the construct of trying to reduce bottlenecks in the first 2 weeks of instruction. We've now had to shift slightly because we're concerned about our outside vendor provisioning enough timely testing in order to get people onto campus Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I would say continue to work with your department heads and supervisors and managers and directors. And I know my email said the 14th. That's really us just trying to get past the first 2-3 weeks of instruction. And it's going to be fluid. And so yes, September 14th is a marker out there. But really the definition of what is essential or what is student facing is going to be fluid. The system policy is to have us come back on the 16th. All I'm asking for is let's be thoughtful about coming to campus, and let's be thoughtful about the stress we're going to put on the systems and the people that are managing the bottlenecks to restrict people on campus. At the same time, I would encourage staff to find a time next week to come to campus. I've only been to campus, I think, 3 times since I started in July. Twice I left my office after the building closed, and both times I wandered around the building until I could find the right exit to point me in the right direction, which tells me logistically I am a nightmare for any of my colleagues in Schuster. And I move slowly. And so if I were to sort of plan to come to campus, some of what I would be doing is not to occupy my office, but just to make sure everything worked in the office and everything was set up so that when I did come back to actually sit there and work for a partial or a full day, that things would be, excuse me, that things would be functional and operational. And I know some of you, many of you have been in and out of your offices. There are many people who've been on campus throughout the pandemic, but there's a lot of us who have been very much removed from our office and workspaces. And as we start to get ready for a fall semester, boy, it'd be nice to know if you hit the power switch, the power came on, and that when you connected cables, they actually, one end spoke to the other. So I would encourage people to think of that. But again, what we're trying to do is, here's my night. I'm going to speak for myself. Here's my nightmare scenario. 2,000 people descend on campus at the same time. 60% of them need to be tested. Half of them have forgotten that you need to set these things up ahead of time. And there's a lot of conversation and consternation that is being directed. In the meantime, in those same gates, you've got people who are prepared and eligible to come to campus trying to navigate those lines. And we're trying to attenuate those lines a little bit and spread them out, particularly in the first couple of weeks of the semester. I want to pick up the question that Allison just asked about metrics. This is an ongoing conversation with the system and with the state. Candidly, I think like most states, New York entered the late spring and summer feeling very optimistic, and I think some of the patterns of communication shifted because we all felt pretty optimistic. Subsequently, things have gotten a little bit more dire and complex, and at the same time, we've had some pretty significant changes in state government in the last week. And so I think some of this discussion about metrics and guidance from the state or the city or the direct application of CDC guidelines and how they play, that's still in play and should be resolved shortly. And if it's not resolved shortly, please understand the Council of Presidents will ask for it to be resolved shortly so that we can communicate back to our campus homes. Stephanie, the question about essential and non-essential, if you think about the beginning of the fall semester, we begin with a basic definition of student facing. But again, the question of essential really needs to be a discussion with managers and supervisors. And some of that could be just timing, right? There may be offices where we want you to come back to campus, but we might suggest, look, you're going to work part days. We'd rather have you come in from 11 to 3 rather than 8 to 12, right? It's really those pinch points, because we can't predict what they're going to look like, but we have concerns that there could be some problematic dynamics. Michael, you do not have to be tested periodically if you are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and have uploaded that documentation. Julie asked the question. Oh, you know what? I need to amend that. In the material that the chancellor sent out, there was also a reference to even some of us who are vaccinated may be periodically polled and to be randomly tested. And that is concerns about the Delta variant viral loads, even on those of us who are vaccinated. So yes, there may be some of us who are vaccinated who get the tap on the virtual or real shoulder and say, you need to go get tested. Rene, the operations of the gates, I assume we're going to work with normal business hours?
Yes, which are not normal business hours. I mean, during the semester, we're open from 7 in the morning till, I think gates close at 11 at night.
And the testing facility will be open? I
don't know the hours offhand. They didn't show up at the campus yet, and I was going to get all those details at the campus. I believe it's 10 to 1, but I will verify that and send it out to everyone.
Okay. And it's Monday through Friday? And to the question about signage, yes, we're always thinking about, talking about, and trying to enhance the signposting and the wayposting on signage. And we will do our best to minimize confusion. Naomi, that's an interesting suggestion. Multiple lines or different lines. Part of the challenge will be ultimately staffing and access. But certainly we're going to learn a lot the first couple of days. And as I said, as a leadership team, I think we typically meet once a week, normally for cabinet, and we've added a couple of extra meetings the next couple of weeks because we know that we're going to be collecting a lot of information about how things are working, and we may have to make, I hate to use this word, we may have to make some pivots along the way in order to smooth things out. John Figueroa asks about home health aides, and I had a conversation with Bridget Barbara, our general counsel, and we should be sending some things out shortly for those people who have disabilities or who have needs of health aides. This was a discussion we had just 20 minutes before I got on the line. I loop back with Bridget the next day or so, and we will send out or post some information.
Can I just add to that, though? They would be considered visitors or vendors, so they will have to follow the process I described earlier, and I will be sending out a memo about that. We will be sending you'll have to send us their first and last name, their email address. Actually, you can send it to me and I'll take care of it getting to the right place. It has to be uploaded to the testing company's site, and either their records will be uploaded for them or they will need to have regular weekly testing as well.
Okay. Nancy Dubetz, thank you for your question, which is many of our students will be working during the day. So testing hours just mentioned might need to include evening hours. This is something that we're going to have to talk to the vendor and or the system, because the system manages this contract. But that's an important question for us to pick up on. Online classes, Martin, I don't believe online classes have been canceled. We still have a lot of online classes, and individual class may be canceled for a variety of reasons. But no, online classes have not been canceled. And Dante, yeah, part of what Student Affairs is going to send out is sort of gentle reminders to the students about extra time. Also not about dawdling. I mean, I know as a student, the first week of class, I used to sit around my home building looking for my friends. And that's a very human and predictable thing. But obviously we're going to try to get people in and out of the indoor spaces as expeditiously as possible. Leslie, if we can conduct transactions or business online, that's fine. The requirement on the masks is something that just came out today and is related to the CDC guidelines and some of the trends that we're seeing. And some offices can easily, I think, manage an employee and a student in the space, but a lot of them that would be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more problematic, and we're mindful of that challenge.
And I would add to that, if you're in a private office and you're meeting with a student either via Zoom or Teams or online in some manner, and you're in a private office by yourself, you would not have to keep your mask on.
Therese, that's a great question, and I have to be honest with you. As the president It would be great that I knew that answer in terms of what individual instructors and departments are doing, but I would encourage you to reach out to the faculty in particular classes. I know a lot of our, if you will, our campus-based classes, which include laboratory classes, some practical classes like in nursing. We've had a number of questions from people in the performing arts. Those are really hard to replicate online. I know many faculty, both at Lehman and elsewhere, have tried and done some pretty heroic work. But we would expect that a fair number of those classes would continue in their face-to-face or hybrid environment. Pam, your question about private cubicles, it's addressed in the chancellor's email. And so if you are in a private dorm room, office, enclosed space, or in a workspace desk, and separated by at least 6 feet from any other occupied workspace or desk, you don't have to wear a mask. That's the only exception inside a building, in addition to a private office. Now, Julie, again, it's not meant to be a wholesale change in saying we're shutting down the campus. We're just asking people to think about ways in which offices can continue to provide services that are critical when we're fully operational, but again, kind of spread out the density of the people coming to campus. So if as a faculty member, you want to flip things around in your hybrid class, that's fine, you may. I hesitate to ask a faculty member who's maybe already planned for their semester to start switching their teaching modalities and schedule. That doesn't seem to be a very fair thing to do for a couple of weeks. But again, a hybrid environment doesn't necessarily specify when and where the face-to-face component is versus the online. And so if that's the way you want to do it, I think that's appropriate. But I don't know that you necessarily ought to be doing that. And Wakimi, I think it's best if you wait. Well, if you're not fully vaccinated, you can start putting your stuff on Cuny first, and it will trigger you to go get tested because you're not fully vaccinated. Remember, fully vaccinated is not just the 2 shots, but is the temporal period after the second shot. And so, yes, if you've got 1 shot, I would still tell you to go into Cuny first. You're going to need to do that anyways, even if you had 2 shots. But it will kick back to you the information you need to schedule an appointment to get tested and have access to campus.
And then once you actually finish your second test and it's 2 weeks later, you can go and update your status.
Yeah. Mildred, I'm not entirely sure that you're going to have in-person general advising meetings. I would contact your school or your advisor to find out how they're handling it. Obviously, we want to provide all the services we can to our students, but we're going to want to do them safely. And you can understand why lots of people are hesitant to put groups of folks into confined spaces. And then, Chriselle, any students accessing campus will have to follow the protocol Rene suggested about campus visitors.
Yeah, I think, Chriselle, we should take that offline and have a conversation about it separately. Again, for the first week or so, we're going to have a grace period, so we're going to be a little bit more flexible in how we approach it.
Well, Rene, we yet again managed to eat up all the time we've allotted to ourselves, and it looks like we have addressed the questions. And Dawn has confirmed that the hours of operation for the Lehman test site are Monday, Tuesday, Friday from 9 to 1, and Wednesday and Thursday, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Thank you, Don. And thank you, Haiti, for your message as well. So on behalf of Vice President Rotolo, thank you for your questions. Thank you for attending. Appreciate your engagement. These are good questions. Please bear with us as we try to work with our vendors and partners to provide the best service we can. Be gentle with your colleagues who are on campus, who are trying to manage the flow of people in and out of spaces. They are doing their best under complicated circumstances, and you will definitely see more communication come out from cabinet members, from vice presidents and myself over the next week. We will try to only give you the best and accurate information. But if there's anything we've learned during COVID is that the situation around us creates a level of fluidity and flux that that is sometimes difficult to be on top of 100%. And so if you see messages from us in the next week or two that seem to contradict or change previous messages, our apologies. We're just simply trying to clarify things or stay in step with mandates and policy language that's coming from the state or from the system. Oh, second question about parking permits.
Parking's free for August.
Free for August. Wow. Feel like just driving to campus to park just to enjoy the free, you know.
And we will be sending out a message about what happens after that. We've scheduled a board meeting to have a discussion about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. We may have to schedule another briefing next week. Hopefully our messages are clear enough and accurate enough. That won't be necessary, but certainly we can make ourselves available again. And we hope you have a good evening. Take care of yourselves out there.